Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What I tried to do was a video just showing me drawing maps. It didn't work out that way because what ended up happening was I started filming myself drawing the maps. I didn't come up with an introduction or an outro or anything like that. So what I've ended up doing is doing a bit of a voiceover as I'm drawing these maps and just explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So this is just a video on that with a little music. But that's about it. I didn't really plan this video out the way that I was hoping because it sounded really good when I was planning it out in my head, but when I actually came to actually executing it, it turned into something else. So I'm just kind of winging it and hoping that it still stands to be okay and a pretty good video nonetheless. I'm just going to be detailing a little bit about the stories and locations as I go along. But yeah, it was actually a really fun exercise, that's for sure. I really like the idea of drawing maps. Now, the idea of drawing maps is something that I have been very stubborn about for the longest time. I didn't really want to draw maps for any of my stories, even though I knew that they would be essential for the locations where my stories take place around the city of Whittington. And most of the reason, or the main reason why I didn't want to draw maps, is because I've learned from life experience that anything that seems easy is going to be really difficult for me. And anything that's difficult ends up being quite easy for me. And maps look really simple, but there's an awful lot of theory and thought that goes into them, and I knew it would be really difficult for me. So I just never bothered trying to draw maps. Now it's gotten to the point where I've hit a crossroads, as it were. I cannot proceed to discuss the fight scenes or anything unless I know the exact location that the characters are supposed to be in and how they're going to sort of navigate that particular area. I can't describe locations properly, I find, with previous chapters and chapters coming up without fully understanding and fully immersing myself in that location and what it looks like and what's in conjunction or close by to that particular location. Mapping is a way to allow yourself as the writer and your readers to be fully immersed into the world of your imagination that you have created and put down on the paper. So I figured this would be not only a learning curve for me as I go along my writing journey, but also something that I just thought would be kind of handy and kind of fun just to share with people, just in case you want to have conversations or anything like that in the future. So without further ado, please enjoy my video. There's lots of music and random stuff. It's mostly just drawing and just lots of music and drawing. And then hopefully I'll have a super quick outro toward the end. So, I don't know. I'm gonna let you guys crack on. Bye. Launching straight in, you can see dog food. Yes, that's right, dog food. The video that I saw that had a load of instruction did advise using beans or something because that could help shape out the island. So I didn't have beans, so I just used dog food. As you can see here, I'm now just outlining the pencil drawing that I did that went around the dog food to get a rough idea of what the island would look like. But because that sort of addition of that map didn't look too great, I decided to then go over the black lines on a new piece of paper with it underneath. So I have it here mask taped to the table. At this point, I'm literally just adding in lines and a little bit of detailing so I can put in place names later on. What I ended up doing next, as you can see on screen, was throwing down some dog food haphazardly so I could outline where I wanted my mountain range to be. Unfortunately, as you're about to see, the mountains themselves were drawn a little bit too big for my liking, but you live when you learn. Hey, Brains. Anyway, so this is a very rough initial drawing of the city of Whittington. So it's like the whole thing. The reason why I wanted to do a big map was because the whole city and various parts of it are going to be used in various stories, which I'm currently writing at the moment. The Wormwood Witches series so far is going to be located in this area and including on the Isle of Ares. The story about Mystic Moon's shop, which will be focusing on the character of Nova, is going to be taking place down here, as well as up in the town of Witten. Then you've also got my psychology thriller story, which is also going to be another urban fantasy, which will be taking place between Toning here and the long drive to Whittington for Bryce. So this whole area is going to be of quite significant importance or significance for all of those novels. And then obviously the formation of the whole city itself will then be made apparent in the fantasy novel that I'm currently in the middle of still planning, but I've already started writing a few chapters, but whether or not I keep them, I don't know. It's super early days. So the whole map of the entire city plus the bay and then all the islands at the side, they all play quite an important role for each of my characters as they go along in the story. However, I won't be changing because this map took too long to draw, and I somehow have managed to do that thing where the town of Whittington, like the word itself is just way too long in general, and I hate writing it. So when I started writing Witten here, it was supposed to be Whittington. I should have planned it out. I didn't. I went straight in with pen, which is why the line is not straight at the top there. And instead, I've reduced the town down to just being Witten. So this is Witten town located in the city of Whittington. Kind of like how the city of London is located in London. All I'm going to say about some of the names here is that within my fantasy world, things are kind of different. So instead of having a Saint Frey, which is what most places are named, like Saint, I've got SR, which is short for Soror. So a lot of places will be labeled Soror or Freighter rather than Saint. And then Jermaine is the name of one of my siblings. Lajam is also the two names of two of my siblings kind of conjoined together to make the name of that lake. And then I've got Burn Lake, who I'm sure some of you guys are probably aware. My dog is called Bernice or Bernie. So I had to have a lake named after her. And of course, I've got a lake named after my husband here as well. It's kind of goofy, kind of cheesy, but I like it. So yeah, that's it for now. I'm going to move on to the next day. Now I'm just drawing in rivers that will connect to the lake that will then drain right out to the sea. So what I'll do here is take a picture of Witten Town, preferably this section here. As you can see, I'm just doing a very rough sketch with a pencil on my iPad. It's just a zoomed in version of Witten Town and the important locations I wanted to focus on in that area. Because I didn't really make any mistakes with the pencil version, I went straight into pen without having to worry about trying to trace it again later on. And I then realized at this point, there is no way that I'm going to be able to zoom in even more and start drawing streets and roads and things like that. It just would have proved far too difficult. So this is the finished map of the city of Whittington, with Kitmore, Witten Town, Toning, and such and so forth, and some of the islands. I thickened up the shoreline of most of the initial city itself. I haven't done it with the islands because they were just a little bit too small, so I didn't want them to be too thick. So I kind of just left them as is, and it's kind of obvious that they're islands because of all the little marks that indicate water around the edge of them. And then obviously you saw me take a photograph of this section here, and that's what I wanted to focus on a little bit more, especially on the cove and this initial forest right here. So that's what I did over here. So as you can see here, the forest is called 13 Forest. This plays quite a big role in book 1 of Wormwood Witches, as well as the Cove. So 13 Forest is the burial site of 13 witches from many centuries before. This is going back to like medieval England. This is where my story is set, guys. It's in England, but it's just a made-up city. And then over here we've got Dead Cove. It's not actually called Dead Cove. It has a different name, like an official name, but this is what all the locals call it because dead bodies seem to show up here, negative things seem to happen here, anything to do with death seems to be drawn to this particular area, and it features quite prominently in book 1. Then we've got the island over here, which I haven't decided what I'm going to do as far as buildings and such are concerned. So there's a big temple here, as well as over on the Isle of Ares, which I didn't include. I'm going to add the Isle of Ares on its own separate paper. But there's temples, so I need to research what religious sites look like on a map. And then the names of certain rivers here, which again, I don't want to go into too much detail about what the rivers are called because again, they do feature kind of heavily throughout the story. But yeah, I'm kind of proud of myself. I really like the water, I have to say. I really like the water, it's kind of cool. I kind of feel like I just need to throw in like a mermaid or something. But yeah, I like it. Here is the Isle of Hieruni and Ares, or just the Isle of Ares, as it's going to be known in my book. Aruni are a type of fae that I have created, and one of their particular species just happens to reside mostly on the south side of this island. You got the Temple of Ares there, or Mars, for those of you who prefer the Roman names. Temple of Mars there, which is where a lot of his initiates happen to reside and do all their training and teaching and whatnot, happens to be here. This is the Highlands. So this is like Lothlorien, which is like from Middle Earth, where all the elves live and like they look after the land and stuff. It's kind of similar to that, but not exactly the same. And it's just on the other side of this mountain range, but there is easy passage to and from the temple as and when there needs to be. Over here is a small lake, and in the middle of this lake is a little island, which is big enough to do like a little bit of camping, but that's about it. But that will feature prominently in book 2 as well as book 1. But yeah, I just thought I would show you this particular island. But as far as drawing maps is concerned, right now, I think I'm good. I don't need to draw anymore. So, yeah. It only took 3 days, guys. Thank you all for watching my video. I hope it was at least a little bit entertaining for you. Obviously, it wasn't a professional or instructional video or anything like that. It was just me, I guess, documenting or journaling my process with using maps and drawing maps for my stories. It's actually been really helpful because it means that when I've gone over a few of the chapters that I was sort of trying to fill out and finish this morning, technically today is like day 4, it meant that I could start actually adding place names to whatever it was that I was writing in those particular chapters. So that really, really helped as well. It kind of forced me to, again, bite the bullet and sort of like avoid my denial or procrastination about giving places their names. I guess in a way it just kind of makes the story feel a lot more final and a lot more closer to being finished. And I'm not quite ready for that yet. So I'm gonna hold on my baby for a little while longer. But yeah, from all of the maps that I've drawn so far, honestly, I think the main map is probably my favorite. I learned quite a lot about coves and ports and things from the instructional video. So again, I'll put them down below. There is a playlist, so I'll put that down below. So I found that to be really, really helpful. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of pretty. And then the other favorite map of mine is probably the Isle of Ares, which looks like this. And I love it. I love it. I think I have a few more maps that I want to get drawn. But I won't show them on here or social media. I think I'll just work on those. And obviously, as my story continues to be written and as I eventually get into the stage where I'm finally able to start drafting it, the maps are also in that condition where they're basically just first drafts at this point. Things are subject to change and I'm completely open and willing to it. So yeah, it was overall a very good experience and yeah, that was just really exciting. I thought that was actually kind of cool. So now I'm just thinking about what other things I'm in denial about, and then I'm just going to try and see if I can bite the bullet with those too. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thank you again for watching. Have a nice day.